In this video, we're going to continue work on splitting the RLCI application into a client-server architecture. In the previous video in this series, we worked on the engine server, so the server component is now actually running on the integration machine, but it's never called. So in this video, we're going to do the final step where we implement the client to actually call the server instead. RLCI is a continuous integration system that I'm working on. I've made several videos about it here on my YouTube channel, and you can find more information in the README file on the GitHub page. Before we can start testing the client, we need an infrastructure wrapper for Unix domain socket client. If you're interested in this design pattern, check out my video about testing without mocks. There's a link in the description. So I'll just fast forward it here. Now it's time to modify the command line application to actually call the server. So let's have a look at the tests. Alright, so let's go back to the command line application and see if we can rewrite these tests. So for now, let's just duplicate the behavior so it triggers this one, as well as sending a request to the server, just for now. So you want to say filter server request should be server request. You want to have a request to tmp/RLCI engine socket, and the request in this case should be test pipeline. So that doesn't work, so let's see if we can fix that. So first of all, we need to have a client here. And a client, my Unix domain socket client, great. And run in test mode, we use client Unix domain socket client dot create null. And we do events.listen on that one as well. Capture events there. Need to import it. Okay. So now we have the client, so let's see if we can make a request. Okay, so where is trigger? Trigger. Here we do self.client may I call it create request. What did you call it? Send request. TMP server RLCI engine. I want to say, how do we convert a string to bytes? So name, can we do just bytes? Oh, we of course do name dot encode ASCII. And it works. Okay, so now we can probably remove these tests because this should not happen anymore. I can trigger different pipelines. So when we trigger test pipeline, we send the server request there. Okay. So design note we can remove, no longer relevant. And let's have a look at the to-do. So replace test with server request test. That is all well. Simulate pipeline failure should simulate a response from server. Okay, so let's have a look at that one. And also socket client wrapper, kinda done now. So let's see, we have simulate pipeline failure should really be client responses is something like that, and if simulate pipeline failure, then we say client responses append, and here we need a byte response indicating a failure, and that should go into Unix domain socket client. So we need responses is client responses, and that will not work. I added the ability to configure responses for the client. So here we are back at the test again. We want to return different exit code depending on if the pipeline succeeded or not. So how can we do that? So currently the exit code is based on the successful flag coming back from trigger. So probably what we want to do, let's see, I think I made constants here, yes. So this is tested that these are the success and response failures. So let's see here. If simulate pipeline failure client responses, then we do trigger response fail, else we add the trigger response success. And these are not given here, so all right. Now what I want to do is remove these because this is not used anymore, or should not be used anymore. Let's see, I'm not sure if any more tests depend on it, so I'll just comment it out for now. So name successful, so we want to do something like okay, that did not work. So simulate pipeline failure, okay. So quickly, just want to check. What if we do bool binary true? We get true, binary false, we get true. So maybe that's not parsing a boolean. Okay. Let's do okay, so that works better. Okay. So let's remove this. And we now have completed simulate pipeline failure to simulate error response from server. Alright. I added the remaining test, but then it was time to test this out locally first. Right, we can do trigger. And we can trigger something. And this should not work right now because there's no server running. So this should exit with 1. Right. We probably want to print something there as well. Okay, so let's see. Let's start the server as well. Or the engine rather. It should now be listening here, I think. There we go. So let's see if we run a pipeline that doesn't exist, a trigger pipeline that doesn't exist. So this doesn't exist. So something happened on the server and it tried to run the pipeline foo. Doesn't exist, so that's cool. So it appears that that worked. And here, over here, we should get exit 1 again. Yes. So I don't want to run the real pipeline, but there is somewhere down save pipeline. We have a test pipeline which has no steps. So let's try to run that one. So trigger test pipeline. So did some stuff and tried to write the report. This probably failed because this directory doesn't exist here on my machine. And exit code. Yeah, so I think this might actually work. The local tests turn out fine, so now it's time to actually deploy a new version of RLCI to the integration machine to test it out for real. Alright, so if everything works now, we have deployed a new version of RLCI. So the command line application on the integration machine is now this new version. So if we run integrate one more time, we will actually use the new version. So, moment of truth. Will this work? Dum 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 dum. I think it actually did. Or it didn't. Okay. So, as we can see here we did the SSH and called the trigger. Up here, we also did that somewhere here. And it starts to outputting stuff that it does. But now we're just calling making a request to the server, and it will probably log to a file instead because we don't have a terminal connected. So let's see what actually happened here. Oh, so it did integrate the changes. So why did we get an exit code? So let's see if we can actually see the response. So let's SSH into the machine. And I think we have this RLCI engine. There is something logged to the stdout, so let's have a look at that one. Okay, so here we can see, the output that we previously saw in the console is now printed to this log file instead, because we're printing to stand it out in this server process. So we're doing everything, running the tests, installing the new version, and does it fail when it tries to restart RLCI engine? No, it doesn't fail. And that's the problem. When this line is executed by the engine is actually restarted. It works. So the engine that is currently executing the pipeline restarts itself, resulting in the pipeline execution being aborted. And this took me way long to figure out that this was actually happening. I researched so many other options why this failed. And then I finally realized the engine just kills itself with a restart. So I'm still not quite sure how to solve this problem, but anyway, this mini-series is now over, and next week I'll be back with something else. I'll see you.